Human beings are the only animal that has to exercise for their health and fitness. All the others just get on with it, going from A to B, running for their dinner, running for their life. That does them. It used to do us as well. Obviously not anymore, so we invent exercise. And ironically, despite having invented it, we're also the animal that's probably the furthest out of shape from the shape we're supposed to be in. And I wonder how much of that is because there's no point for a lot of people to exercising. They've got a reason, but not a point. You ask 100 people that really think they should be going to the gym why, they'll give you a reason. They might tell you about an event they've got coming up in a couple of months' time, or a holiday in 6 months, or a wedding next year. That's a reason. It's not a point, an immediate requirement to get off the sofa and go and do something now, today. You ask a lion why he's running, he'll tell you because he wants to catch that gazelle to eat it so he doesn't starve to death tonight. Say, oh, thought you were going on holiday, mate. No, lives on safari for a start. So what I like to do is have a point to the exercise that I'm doing. So for example, today I had to do a 12-mile run. The reason for the 12-mile run that we've just finished is that I've got an ultra marathon coming up in 6 weeks. But 6 weeks, I'm bored already. I don't care about that. I want a requirement, a need, a point to have done it today. So I have one, because I'm almost at my brother's house, which is exactly 12 miles from my house. Jenna is driving Lincoln, the puppy, to my brother's house to socialise it with their kids for the day. She'll drop it off and go home. She'll be there for 2 minutes. Therefore, me and Nixon have to be there on time to get a lift home. It is a point. We've had to artificially create it, but it is real. We get there or we're stuck. Some of you might be thinking that a reason to do something and a point to do something are the same thing, that I'm assigning those words meanings that are grammatically at least inappropriate, and that'd be really interesting if this was a video on English grammar. It isn't. The words are not particularly important. Over here you have a need to do something derived from a long-term objective, something you are planning to do, a very human process. Over here you have a need to do something caused by a requirement now, a natural response to wanting something immediately, the way an animal decides what to do. What do I need? Let's go and get it. I define them as a reason and a point. You could equally call them need A, need B, Susan, Mildred. It doesn't matter as long as you understand the difference. And understand that a point or a need be or a Mildred is a very powerful tool for getting the job at hand done. Today's point, get to my brother's on time or be stranded, pushed me on with far more motivation than the thought of a race that is weeks and weeks away, even though that is the reason for going on the run in the first place. Now, when there isn't a point and I can't just make one up, I instead substitute it with a target. A goal that needs hitting becomes my point, which brings me to the reason for this video. My next two events are a 50k ultramarathon that I first did in 2019 and a 20-mile mountain race that I did last year with Nixon. And when I went into both of those, I was given the same advice. Just get round. Don't worry about time, just complete it. I was told the same thing when I started looking at Ironman. I was told, just finish the event. Don't worry about time. And recently I was told the same thing about a ride I did on Zwift, the 4 Horsemen. It's a route that takes in the 4 big climbs in Watopia, so it's a tough ride. I went on a Zwift forum and I asked, what sort of time should I be looking for? I gave them my stats, I gave them some examples of rides I'd done so they knew what I was capable of, and I kept getting the same advice back. Forget a time, just get round, just complete it. It's your first go, just worry about finishing the event. Just finish does not sound like a way to be above average. Let's jump back in time. Not that far, 1995. I started in the industry that I am still in now. During my first 6 months there, all new recruits had to go in on a Saturday morning at 7:30.
You laughing now?
7:30 until 8 was for sales training. 8 until 1 p.m. was for cold calling prospective new clients. On one of those sales training sessions, a sales manager taught us the well-known acronym
A, B.
Not that one. SMART. All targets need to be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely. And those training sessions taught me two things. One, people like this are real.
Get them to sign on the line which is dotted.
Two, no one wants to be cold called at 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning. I then completely forgot all that smart rubbish. Until recently, because all my endurance training lately does actually benefit hugely from setting proper targets. Now I understand completely that there is a place for the advice, just get round, just finish it. When I did my first park runs, the advice of just get the 5K done, ideally before dark, that really was good advice, because back then that advice did adhere to the SMART principles. So let's look at that Zwift ride that I did and how this helped. Is it specific? Absolutely. It's even got its own name, the 4 Horsemen. Is it measurable? Absolutely. Watts, cadence, speed, time. I can have any metric I like. Is it achievable? Of course it is. Everyone's already told me, just complete it. The same as the Ironman, just finish it. The same as the ultra run, just get round. This ride is not climbing Everest without oxygen. It's pedaling a pretend bike in my garage. Eventually I can achieve it. Is it relevant? Of course it is. My overall fitness will improve and I like a challenge. Is it timely? Yes, I knew when I was going to do it. I had time to do it. And to be fair to my old sales manager, he added on an extra T. Is it tough? No, not as it stood. I could stick my mum on that bike, give her 12 hours, feed her cookies, log her into Netflix. Eventually, she'd pedal her way round. So I went back and I kept asking, what is a good time for this event? And eventually people started suggesting 3.5 to 4 hours is not too bad. For someone that is not a climber, not a regular distance cyclist, under 4 hours is okay. And then I found a video on YouTube of a guy doing it in a fraction over 4 hours. So now I've got my SMART T target. The tough box is ticked. The achievable box goes from yes, of course, to probably, and that is fine by me. So how did I actually do on the ride? Well, let's go through it and have a watch. The video I found, it was this guy, or this child, Tom. He did it in 4 hours and 3 minutes, and he doesn't look old enough to cross the road on his own. So I figured under 4 hours will be easy. That was a wildly inaccurate assumption. So I watched Tom's video and I made a note of what the time was at the start of each of the 4 climbs in the route, and also how quickly he got up those climbs. All I then had to do was to ride my ride, stay a couple of minutes ahead of his time, and I'd be sub 4. And so off I go. Tom gets to the start of the first climb, the Zwift King of the Mountain, just after 3 minutes 42. This kid is getting crushed. My new target is going to be 3.5 hours. He then climbs it in just over 3 minutes. I am about 30 seconds behind him, the smallest hill in the whole route, and he flies up it and destroys me. So I reassess, I'm back to a sub 4 hour target. The start of the volcano is the next hill. He hits it at just under 18 minutes. I'm about 16.5 minutes, but again, going up it, he is faster. He's up there in 10:46, I'm at 11 minutes. Obviously, he is an awful lot lighter than me, as you'd expect. If he was my weight at his age, he'd probably be taken into care or something. So he goes up those hills quick. The third hill, Epic King of the Mountain, he gets there at 47:56, and I'm again still about 90 seconds up. I'm making up the time on the flats, 46:25 for me. Again, he's faster up it. He's up there in 33:33. I'm 35:02. Now, I've been told that the 2 hardest points on this entire ride are the start of Alpe d'Huez, the big hill, because at that point you're not even halfway, and the top of Alpe d'Huez, because at that point you're exhausted and you've still got about an hour to go. Tom gets there 1 hour 51 elapsed. I'm a couple of minutes ahead still, 1 hour 49 elapsed. My worry is that he'll be so fast going up the hill compared to me that by the time he gets to the top, he'll have put a gap on me that I then can't recoup. And knowing that, having that worry based on actual facts and information that I'd used to set my target, pushed me up that hill way faster than I would ever have gone if I was just riding up it, just getting around, just finish the event. I flew up there. It's all relative. I've got up there before in under an hour, and it wasn't under an hour this time. but compared to what I would have done, it was an awful lot faster. And I ended up doing the climb in 79 minutes, so just 2 minutes behind Tom. And it's now what I've been told is roughly about an hour to go after that climb. I'm hoping it is very roughly, because I'm already at 3 hours, 7 minutes a lap, so I don't have an hour to spare. But I knew at this point Tom was at 3:09, I'm at 3:07. I know I'm 2 minutes ahead of him still. I know I've got to make 3 minutes up. I know what needs to be done. I know what my target is. It's all very specific in my head. I just got to get on and push that last extra section. I know it can be done. I know what needs to be done. I just have to get it done. In my head, I've got a sort of a motivational mix of my psychotic ex-sales manager and Tom, the child cyclist.
Either you run the day or the day runs you.
And it works. I crossed the line, 3 hours 58. Huge shout out to Tom, because I would never have got under 4 hours without his video. I would have come in at least 10 minutes slower up the Alpe d'Huez Zwift. I've no idea overall. I've had to guess, if I just gone round, probably 4 hours 15 minutes if I didn't have a target. Now you might be thinking, what's the point of a target? By which I mean the lion has to catch his dinner or he starves. I had to get to my brother's house or I'm stranded. You don't have to hit a target. There is no negative implication if you don't. And it's simple. You have two options. You either elevate the importance of hitting that target in your mind to such an extent that missing it becomes a negative association for you, or you add a bolt on. For example, in mid-April, me and Nixon are back in the Welsh Mountains for the 20-mile Beast of Beacons race, a race that last year Nixon was first dog in.
Nixon was first dog. Good work, little man.
Our target is to be first dog again, although staying ahead of the other dogs is almost as much a point to us as it is a target. Either way, neither has any obvious negative implications associated with failing. It's not as though if the dogs catch us, they're going to eat us, although we will tell ourselves they will, because when you're running through the woods, there's nothing like thinking that half a mile back there is a killer Labradoodle on your trail to push you on. Anyway, we raise the importance of hitting that target. Everyone in the house here knows how important that goal is to us. Every time I train for the event, visualize the event, I think about Nixon getting that trophy. And if we needed more, an example of a bolt-on would be to reward ourselves with something if we achieve the goal. So maybe if we get the trophy, I get to buy a new bit for my bike or a new piece of equipment for the gym or something. Be careful though with rewarding yourself with treats. It's very easy to fall into the classic trap of an 800-calorie piece of cake as a reward for doing a 400-calorie burning jog. Another example of a bolt-on is that when I did my ultra marathon in 2019, I set myself a 6-hour target and I told myself if I hit it, I'd have a cheat meal. It was during a period of time where I was eating very, very strict. A cheat meal would have been a huge reward. I did it in 6 hours, 2 minutes, so I had a protein bar and told myself next time sub 6. Is it useful? I hope so. In summary, an awful lot of what we do for our health and our fitness has plenty of reasons to do it, but often lacks an immediate requirement, a need to do it, a point that is rewarding. Whether it's hitting a new PB lift in the gym or getting your fastest park run time or entering a new whatever race. Don't just do it. Give it a target, give it a point and get it done. Unless it's getting 5 sales before 11 AM on a Saturday morning, people did not like those cold calls.